you higher than you've ever been.
Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day. Let's get right into the chart, shall we? Bada bing, bada boom. Here we go. Well, we're just going sideways in this ascending channel to the upside. We did have a previous hit to that fib region, which was at 27,237, and we were looking at a potential zone at the 27.5 region. So we're just waiting for it to hit our point of interest for a potential long to that 27.4 region. So this ascending channel narrative puts us up for Wednesday for that to occur, potentially speaking. Let's go into the liquidity, shall we? What is the liquidity of the heat map here on High Block? Well, it's when people lock up their liquidity in the charts to be burnt to a crisp by the market maker because they don't use a stop loss and they just like giving their money back. So let's see who's getting crispy in the chart, shall we? Boom. So we have basically holiday that came early. So Wednesday was actually midweek reversal Thursday, and we are currently in Friday, which is supposed to be run for profit. Where is that run for profit going to occur? We do have 50x up here in shorts. In the overall balance of the schemata of things on this 1 minute time frame, you have 2 billion in short liquidity. although we've just been going sideways, so in terms of the history which it has forgotten, it's just oscillating between those imbalances. We've been putting out the idea of waiting for this 2758 character at 193 million to be knocked out. Once again, this region down here happens to have that long volume noodle of sorts right there. And you do have this character. Did they get knocked out? It looks like they got by the skin of their teeth here. So this guy at 142 million at 2768 should, for all intents and purposes, be knocked out of the game alongside him. Also, just recently we had some news with non-farm payrolls. I don't even know what non-farm payrolls means, but apparently it was bullish for the dollar. So overall, it looks like you have less short liquidity than long liquidity in that weird spike there. So there's 4 million added to the downside, potentially speaking. And yeah, so you got a few more bubbles added down to here, and this entire region could be taken. So we're not in any, whoops, it's not going to let me log in. I should have logged in before we went in, but I'm not in any trade currently. So yeah, I got to think about that if we go lower. So we're going to go take a look at that. Let's go to the higher time frame, shall we? Boom. How's everyone doing out there? Good morning. Yo, welcome. Thanks for stopping on in. Okay, 12-hour time frame. So let's go to the 12-hour. Looks like you are getting a little bit more induced to the upside here in the immediate region at 28.75. I don't really like looking at the 12-hour. I saw Tino of Traders Reality looking at it, and I was like, okay, I guess you can gauge in a scalper's term like where it's going to go based off of that. Although you do have, yeah, it's slightly more to the upside here on the 12-hour. It's literally only 12 hours of information. And you go to the 7-day. I had to ride my bicycle home in the rain, so I was a little bit beat as I came back. I did tell them I'm going to reduce my hours, which was nice, and I was like, I'm not going to do any more night classes, so I can possibly catch these New York Open with a little bit more excitement. So it looks like we still have that imbalance up here in the immediate, although right below, which we're talking about, just knocking out these guys a hop, skip, and a jump away before they go up to this. So going down to before you go up, that narrative still remains intact in my mind. Let's just go to the higher time frame to see if that still remains. We've broken 28k and flirted around that idea. The low liquidity is not a time you want to necessarily enter. You can always sit on the sidelines and paper trade. We did paper trade since essentially Wednesday our time, even though we called this move to the upside. We were chilling. This move here, sorry about that. So yeah, it looks like we are building more just above here, but if you start to break this region and go into the 27, below 27k, then you're kind of starting to aim in the 25k region in terms of this stacked region, and then even lower at 22k you're starting to get this imbalance. So on the monthly time frame, it's pretty even. I like leaving it on the monthly because it kind of doesn't paint a picture to one side or the other. It just gives it to you straight that it could go either way, and so you can kind of just see what's next on the horizon. So next on the horizon is coming down here to grab about 27.6 region, and then just above that you start to get a little bit more up here at 28.5. But if you came down to the 27.4, then you just go down for that 27.110 billion down here. Not too bad. So it doesn't start to get thick to the upside till you get to 29.4. Now this is the monthly time frame. When we start to step into the external liquidity of the 3-month and above, you start to see a different picture. We're trying to do this as fast as possible to save you time about your day, and you can go about your business. Booyah. Alright, so load please. Get that coffee in me to wake me up. And maintain that ultra focus. Here we go. So we got 49 billion at 29.4, 46 billion, 29.6. Put it together, you get close to 200 billion if you include the 20 and 16 billion from 29 billion and 29k and 29.2. So this is why I was putting out the idea, and I'm not necessarily interested to short just yet. Although we did enter that short last Saturday, which was nice, and we were able to sleep on it overnight because it went up to 29.2 and just faded there nicely. So yeah, this paints a different picture in terms of where it would like to go on that higher time frame up to that 29.4 region, and you're starting to get this caked up juiciness above all the way to 31.2. Interesting. And then you go below, it just doesn't really have the same level of juice down below, so I would bet to the upside for that. But it could come get those 14 billion down in the 27k region or within first before it decides to shoot up. You got to knock out the direction, the direction that's betting the right direction first. They call it a stop hunt rise before it drops, or a stop hunt drop before it rises. It's taken a long time to load. Let's see what the connection is like. Alright, there we go. So this is the 6-month time frame. Why is it looking so small all of a sudden? That's weird. What? Ah, there we go. Yeah, so this one's even more of a thickness to the upside. You got 80 billion up here at 29.4. You have 28 billion at 27 even. So if you go down, even with the spike, come back up on the liquidity side of things, we have some fibs saying some other levels down here, but it doesn't discount this because that's 120 billion down here compared to the 80 billion. It could just fade and eat all this up. You never know. So let's go to the yearly. I think they released that 29.4 before they consider going lower, but that's just me. Starting to thicken up the upper regions here, getting 60. This is the yearly time frame. You got 68 billion at 29.6, 70 billion 30k, 23 billion at 34. 38, you have 70 billion, and it starts to get a little bit sparse. 38 billion 31.2, 18 billion 31.6, 23 billion 32, 60 billion 32.4, 76 billion 32.8, 52 billion 33.2, and you're getting 59, 61, 25, and 84 up to 34.8. Very interesting how it's starting to get these pools to 34.8. I never even looked up to this region until the last, week. Like, there was nothing there. Look at that. Nothing at 30k, nothing at 31.8. Like, it's just sparse. I saw this bar up here at 34,800, of course, since June. So that's still there and waiting. So it's just interesting. There is a, a narrative starting to form where there's liquidity to go up to 34,800. That's crazy. And then if you look below, yeah, you do have some pools down below, of course. But the fervor in which they shot up here kind of like left this area kind of sparse. It's almost like they skipped it. They skipped from here to here, took all the liquidity and said, what do you mean we jumped? And it's just like, there is some in here, but it just wasn't on the same level as back here, you know, like it's a very different picture of liquidity, and it's relatively equal, you know. So it could go up to these 34.8 regions on a tear to the upside. That's kind of crazy to think about, to be honest. Let's look at 29.4 with that 1 month time frame, and let's go into the Fibonacci, shall we? Booyah. All right, let's go. Okay, so we had this bearish projection zone if it decides to go lower using the impulse retrace idea. What do I mean by that? Well, you take the trend-based fib extension tool and you do 3 clicks, go to your Fibonacci, find trend-based fibs, favorite that, and then you can use this impulse and retrace idea. And for bearish ones, you take the impulse to the downside and the retrace of the waning bulls, and then that tells you the projection of where it would continue if it wants to go lower. So this impulse to the downside and the retrace to the upside gives you these levels, of which the 236, if it maintains below this region at 28.3, is a kind of valid idea to think about these regions below. And the local Fibonacci level of this impulse puts you at, we've been bouncing at the 618, 1, 2, 3, 4 times now. So on each time it's weakening to go lower. So we're going to look at that. The 236 for the bullish projection, which is at 28.84, has not been held for the last day or two. So this could spell downside regions. So we're going to go into the daily really quick. I can't be on long for the live today. I gotta go in early tomorrow for some reason. So let's take a look. So this looks like it could come down some more on the daily based off the Williams crossover event we talked about 2 days on Tuesday. So after the Tuesday long that I paid myself on, I was kind of ambiguous about the play, so I haven't been in any trades since then. I think this one still lets me know it's not signed in. So yeah, this is on the daily time frame. Let's go to the 22. 22 also getting that suppression off the MACD of all things. So the MACD is kind of coming down with it, getting rejected without turning that MACD up. Money flow coming down, Williams coming down. Could see that full reset at this stage. What does that mean? Do you get that liquidity grab with the burst towards the end of the daily close? The 22-hour close is one of the 22-hour 2 candles per day, 2 hours prior to the daily close, and the final one on the daily close. Knowing when your candles closes, it tells you here 7 hours 42 minutes is very good to watch, especially when you watch them overlap with other time frames. So that everything closes on the daily time frame, so the daily time frame is a significant one to watch for stochastic resets and levels trying to hold and all that stuff. Okay, so the 12-hour time frame is oversold, getting that curvature here. Money flow beneath the RSI. You got the MACD still pointing down, could come down some more. The Williams is getting reset in a nice way on the 12-hour time frame. Still could come down some more. This could get suppressed with the 22-hour candle close trying to reset completely, and the 6-hour also getting oversold. So you're getting into that pocket for that super entry, perhaps, if it was going to present itself to the upside. Just need to wait for some liquidity grabs. So you got all this liquidity below, so when you see all these guys popped and you spawn some divergence, not financial advice, but you could pop one in the chamber and just shoot it off and see where it leads you, to the upside or not. Whoops, we're looking at Momentum Master B, not looking at the fibs. That's how ahead of ourselves we are. So yeah, the fib levels, we got those, not changing them. You got the 618 possible rejection to the upside here of this local retrace down. So let's just go ahead and turn on the heads up display. Bada boom, bada boom. There we go. And yeah, so we turn on some Momentum Master goodness and see how it goes. So you're previously seeing some rejections off the cloud here on the 4-hour. The 4-hour is thickening out in a selling volume way. So you're seeing those rejections off the cloud. The purple arrows indicating offloading of positions, volume exiting in terms of the weekend setup. And then you're getting that 12-hour cloud thin. We had this previously happen on the 8-hour before we dropped down. What do we mean by that? Well, momentummaster.info, link in the description. This trend cloud here, which is here, let me just load it really quick. Scroll down to features and have a look at the blurbs about the trend cloud. It's a volume weighted cloud formula which expands and contracts according to the amount of volume present in the asset. So when it was starting to thin here and we broke down out of it, that was kind of a sign of potential fatigue, and we actually came back and reclaimed it on the 8, 6, 12, 22, and all of these reclamations suggested more upside when we came back out of this on the cloud here. Now the cloud is starting to thin again. Are we going to break down out of it for that double tap potential? And is that going to thin it by how much? And could we come back for a continuation idea? Interesting to note. Let's go to the 12-hour. Love that cup. Oh, the cup is from Monsters Inc. Yeah. It was a gift, but it's Sully the monster that, loved that little girl. Fun, interesting fact about shape language. You go to YouTube, you type in, I was making characters and stuff for curriculum development, but let's just type in that BAM animation shape. So they'll talk about character design, good versus bad character design tips and tricks. You find this video if you like animation at all. It's pretty interesting. They're going to talk about the shape language for designing characters, and basically round characters like Mike in Monsters Inc. is a circle. The circle character represents friendliness and amicability, and so if you round out your characters and make them softer and rounder, it gives this sense of at-homeness and friendliness. And so the shape language is what you can use to communicate using characters. And then if you have a box type character, a square, they're either stubborn or they're reliable, but they're set in their ways, they're sturdy, they're unmovable. So Sully is that square box frame type person who's the reliable character that Mike always relies on, who can get the job scaring done. And then you have Randall, which is like a triangle character, and the triangles are always spiky in the sense that their personalities rub you the wrong way. A lot of villains are triangles. And so just with those simple shapes, you can kind of convey a meaning. So next time you look at some character in a show, you'll see how they use that shape language. The circle, square, or triangle characters. Colors are also interesting in that manner. I was telling some kid about purple being the highest frequency, but you couldn't get purple as a dye for clothing for the longest time, so only royalty had it. So that's why it has an air of mystery, like the Cheshire Cat, Ursula, and to name a few of like things that are unknown that are purple. Purple always gives that kind of mysterious vibe. So we're thinning out on the cloud here on the 12 hour. It looks like we could drop down out of this, if I'm being honest. And we got the baselines above price. We had that previous crossover event indicating that suppression could come in, as we see the baselines could not be reclaimed at all. And it's starting to thin, so a potential drop down could be in the works, dropping even lower to the 6 hour. Like the character in my profile pic, for example, I made that in Illustrator, so I had to make characters like that for like background cover art and stuff for lesson plans. So I had to study about characters a lot. So the 6 hour, we've dropped out and we've already kind of tried to reclaim it and failed, and we're getting that cross down event. So that also insinuates going lower. The interesting thing about the ATR is it's kind of in this region that coincides with the fib level as well. Let's go to the 4 hour. 4 hour is low, but it still has that potential of the 15 and the hourly pushing it down ever so slightly. You got that thickness that we need to reclaim. Let's look a little bit more on the Williams. Yeah, it could come down a little bit more. Money flow coming above the RSI, so that could come back down for one last hurrah up here. You come up and then you come down. Alright, so you got a little bit more points to give back here. The MACD could come into the domain of the Williams on the 4 hour here. Let's go to the hourly. Yeah, the character animation. These guys did Rick and Morty and a bunch of other things. They're not amateurs either. BAM Animation. They're and they put out these really badass tutorials about animation and how to do it, giving perspective and creating the background art and everything for free. Shout out to those guys. They're pretty cool. Okay, so the hourly time frame is starting to thin in a nice manner. If you can reclaim it, we're getting the crossover event on the hourly. The hourly could be the saving grace that shoots you up here and you kiss it and you go. I'd still want to see this bubble get knocked out. It just, the liquidity doesn't suggest that it goes up from here for me personally. I'd like to see the liquidity grab, then you come up, similar to what we saw the other day. We were talking about the bubbles and the V-shaped recovery. Like, I want to see something like this. This sideways action does not entice me in any way, shape, or form. Consolidation generally occurs before a expansion. So how do you know which expansion is going to occur? It's kind of a 50-50. So let's go, what is consolidation? Consolidation is when price moves inside a clear trading range and shows no willingness to move significantly higher or lower. Why is it important? When the price consolidates, it indicates the market makers are allowing orders to build on both sides. What do you look for? The impulse swing in price action away from the equilibrium, which is found at the halfway point of the range. So it will expand up or expand down accordingly, and then it will retrace and continue. So it will expand, retrace, and continue. So you try to look for the CER, consolidation, expansion, retracement combo. So now we're in a consolidation. Do we expand and then retrace up and continued further down? I don't know, but you would wait for one of those expansion, retrace, continuation. So if it goes up, it would go hit one of these, fatigue, hit that, and continue, and you'd look for that entry kind of on that continuation idea. You're just kind of going in a meandering way sideways. At the moment, we are getting that crossover event on the hourly. There is this bubble up above here in the immediate of 75 million at 28 even, so they could come up, knock that guy down, fake everyone out, and then drop it. And 15-minute looking like you could go up. What are these diamonds and X's? That just shows all of the time frames we just went over, the 22, the 12, the 6, the 4, all getting oversold. You have 4 time frames, 5 time frames, and 5 time frames in your favor. So if you play stochastics and the cumulative time frame idea, then you could enter off of these too. I'm taking it another step further with these liquidity things to be ultra safe to my own entries, but you don't always have to do that. If you're one of those just stochastic traders, you could enter off of this Fibonacci 618 bounce here, getting bearish divergence that previously maybe played out. Let's go to the 5-minute. Let's see, kind of breaking above the weighted here, so it's starting to suggest some sort of play to the upside here, maybe up to that. Yeah, that would coincide with the what's the word I'm looking for, that liquidity pool guy up here at 2902. His would realistically be here. There's a fair value gap over here by the looks of it, like a BPR, so you go up into this region and then come further down. I don't know. Let's go look at the S&P and come back to this fresh. Shoulder, head, and shoulder. We did not come down, so that did not play out in our favor. The dollar shooting up based off the news. We were talking about that potential of coming up into that region and rejecting. So far we have come up to that region. What was that region again? I don't even remember. Let's go see. I think it was like a fair value gap. It was a previous range high. That's what it was. So we came up into that region and getting sold off there. 4 hour getting overbought. you did have a crossover on the 6, and you got a crossover on the 4, so that's why you're playing out here. You had that crossover event with the 5. So the ultimate entry on the stochastic array is pretty darn accurate a lot of the time. So you could shut off your brain and just try these out. These like, ooh, a rocket, and then just see where it goes off of a Fibonacci level or something with the crossover event, and just ignore liquidity entirely, and you might be able to see something. Purely scalping as an idea. Shoulder, head and shoulder, perhaps. Okay, so you're getting the crossover event on the 4 hour. We talked about that, but you're starting to push up here. Is that for that double top scenario at some stage? Where would that take you is the question. Let's go to the hourly. So you got a gap here by the looks of it. To be more precise, this one was so you got a previous rejection there, so you come all the way up to that realistically. And that coincides with the 618 region, kind of this golden pocket. That was the S&P, right? Okay. So that would mean if it goes up to one of these regions and rejects, then the Bitcoin idea of going to grab that liquidity on the upside before dropping would be true. So there's some narrative structure there to insinuate that being the case. If the it's just low liquidity, we're going sideways. I'm not really feeling what's going on just yet. And that's about it. I mean, I don't really have anything to offer per se. If I see anything more, I can give it to you, but there's just these small bubbles through and through. There's nothing really to suggest anything. You do have more sparse above and a little bit thicker below down here, so based off the larger time frame pools down here, it's suggesting that as it starts to eat into these bottom regions, that it's potentially thinking of going lower. That also coincides with the Fibonacci 236 rejection on the trend-based fib tool here. This is the bullish one you got rejected on. The bearish one you already got support on up here, so we haven't even come back to test of breaking that at 28.3 just yet. So as long as you can't get above that 28.084 region and you fatigue here, you could realistically scalp it down to those pools below. You got the 15-minute overbought rejection of the hourly cloud, potentially, and the 12-hour cloud starting to fade, potentially. So if you close beneath that 27,911 region, then you could come down into this pocket-a-roo before, and then start thinking about setting up a position to that 29.4 at some stage in the game. Could we come down to here over the weekend? I have no idea. Are they going to start trading it lower? Also have no idea. So these are the levels to look at on the fibs, and the baseline suggests so. Let's see what you guys got to say, and I gotta call it a night because I'm deadbeat tired riding my bicycle in the rain like that on the way to work and back. So I did tell my boss that I'm shortening my hours by 40 hours a week, or every, what was it, like 3 months or whatever, so it cuts 2 hours off my day at the beginning and end, so I can come home earlier, be with my family and whatnot. Little by little, take those incremental steps to ending the indentured servitude entirely. So that 12-hour thinning cloud doesn't look so good for upside at the moment. The rejection of the hourly doesn't look so good for the long idea at the moment. You're getting constantly wicked off that cloud with the arrows pointing down, showing positions being sold off, even though you are reclaiming this 15. But this is where it all starts, and you watch that cascade. If it will cascade, it needs to reclaim a bunch of levels first. 5 minute and the 15 are already overbought. If you go to the 15-minute time frame, you're already overbought and you didn't really go anywhere. So, you know, that significance of getting above the cloud is the first sign to see if it comes back to it after thinning. What does it do? It could just do something like this and dump down. It all depends on the higher time frames inspiration. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep it short but sweet. That's where I'm going to stick to it. I'm looking for my point of interest down here still at 27,590. I saw Tino put out a similar level independent of my analysis, so I was like, oh nice, he's seeing the same thing too. He was putting it at 27,540 or something, so it was like down here, and he was saying if they go below that, then the narrative to going to the 29.4. He sees high block too, so he was really accurate in seeing the 29.4 region. So yeah, that's where I'm looking for that idea. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm beat, so I will catch you on the flip. Once again, thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, coming on in each and every day, and I'll do the same, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.